Hey guys, what up? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Alif, and in this tutorial video I'll be teaching you guys on how to edit on Davinci Resolve. Now that does not mean I'm fully switched to Resolve or completely abandoned Vegas Pro, because I'm still use Vegas Pro to edit most of my client videos, and in fact I still will be making Vegas Pro tutorials on this channel. It's just that I wanted to branch out the content that I made on this channel to not only focus on Vegas, but to make different things. So Davinci Resolve is one of it. Okay, so we have 2 tutorials on this channel. Now in this particular tutorial, I'll be teaching you guys something basic like importing the videos, trimming, keyframing, transformation, all those kind of basic stuff on this tutorial. So I hope by the end of the video you will have the knowledge to execute simple edit like wedding videos, corporates, all those basic videos just only using Davinci Resolve software. Now before I continue the tutorial, I just want to say thank you to Envato Elements. Envato Elements is a website that delivers unlimited access to over 55 million assets such as stock videos, photos, musics, templates, and more. These assets can be used for client work, content creation, and even your own personal project. Asset use can be posted on various platforms without worries regarding on copyright issues and licensing. Envato offers a nice simple license, and your license still applies even after your subscription has ended. If you use the link in the description, you'll get 50% off when selecting an annual subscriptions. This will give you access to everything for less than $20 per month. Thank you to Envato Elements for sponsoring this video. Alright guys, so now we inside Davinci Resolve program, and here is the edit page, and this is the page that you're gonna use a lot when it comes to editing. And of course Davinci has several other pages like media page. This is where you import and organize your clip. You have your cut page where you do your rough cut, and then next we have the edit page itself. Now we have a fusion page. This is where you do your VFX and motion graphics. And then we have the color page. This is what Davinci known for, which is the very powerful coloring tools that they have. Then we have Fairlight page. This is where you do your audio mixings and stuff. And then finally we have the delivery page, where this is you export the video out. Okay, so in this tutorial I'm just going to be focusing only on the edit page, and also a bit on the media page, because you have to import your clip first through this page, then only you can proceed to the edit page. Alright, so here in the media pool, it is very similar if you see on Vegas Pro. If I go to the project media, this is where you import clips and organize them here. Okay, once you organize, you can just drag and drop it into the timeline, but here in Davinci take a different approach. You organize them here, and once you're done, you can just go to the edit page and click on media pool. It will just reflect the same looking user interface right as you see it on the media page. Okay, so if I go to the edit page, okay, open the media pool, it is the same as you would see on a project media on Vegas Pro. Okay, now since I already opened up Vegas Pro here, I have this really simple edit that I've made, and we will try to replicate the edits that I've made here in Vegas Pro inside Davinci Resolve. So I have 4 footages here. And what I have done on this clip here, the first clip here, I have a simple zoom in animation. So if I open pan and crop, you can see a simple zoom in animation here with the pan and crop, and then I have a text above it with a simple tracking animation. As you can see, I animate the tracking so that the text grow over time, and then I add a film burn above between the cuts to overlay it together like so. And I have some simple slow motion, crossfade, and then I have the speed ramp over here. And then between these 2 video clip, I add a video effects, which is linear blur. If I go to video effects tab, blur, linear blur, I add it on the video track so that I can sort of animate the blur to make this sort of transitions. And then I have a music, and pretty much that's it. Okay, so we'll try to replicate this edit here in Vegas Pro inside Davinci Resolve. Okay, so the first thing first is to obviously import the clip, which I already done that. Okay, I have the same footage that I use here in Vegas, And the first thing is to set up your project settings. Now to do so, just go to your bottom right hand side here in the user interface, click the gear icon, and it will load up the project settings. It is similar as you would click the gear icon on the Vegas Pro. Okay, this is project properties in Vegas, and this is project settings here in Resolve. They are the same. Okay, so to make things simpler, I'm just gonna focus on a timeline format. Okay, so you can pick your resolution, okay, and then you can pick your frame rate. Now keep in mind is that Davinci, when you select a certain frame rate and create a timeline with that settings, that timeline will be forever locked on that frame rate, so you can't switch it back afterwards. So if I pick 25 frame, press save, you see you can't undo this. Press chain, and let's create a timeline with this clip. You just right click on it, create new timeline, create, and it will create a timeline. So if I try to change the timeline settings, and if I uncheck this, I have the options to change the resolutions but not the frame rate. It will be forever locked on that particular frame rate. Okay, so that's the one thing that you have to keep in mind on Davinci Resolve. Okay, so since we already created the timeline for the first clip, let's move on to the edit page, and we already have the video clip pretty much load up here in the timeline. And before we go any further, let me explain briefly what this interface, all this button here all about, and show you briefly how you can move around in the timeline. Alright, so the first thing, to move the playhead around, you have to click on the top here, okay, and to move it around, you can just hold it and move it around like so. You can't click it anywhere here in the timeline and expect this playhead to move it there, because in Vegas you can do that, but not with Davinci. Okay, and to zoom in and out, you can't simply just use your mouse wheel. You have to sort of have a combination of your keyboard. So to zoom in, you hold Alt and use your mouse wheel. That will zoom in based on the playhead position. And to move left and right in the timeline, you hold Control. Okay, while holding Control, use your mouse wheel. And to go up and down, hold Shift and move your mouse wheel. But since we don't have any stacking layer here, it will just resize the size of the layer itself. Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. You can also use the slider over here to zoom in and out, or the slider on the bottom here. Okay, and then to trim the video, just simply click on the layer itself and just trim it like so. It is similar with Vegas Pro. Okay, I think you guys should know that it is the basic stuff. And let me trim it a bit. To make a cut, you press B, and that will activate the razor, the blade mode here. Okay, or you can click the blade on the toolbar here and you can make a cut. However, I changed my keyboard settings so that when I press B, it will make a cut directly on the layer. Let me click that. Yep, so it will instantly make a cut. By default, Davinci won't do that, so you have to change the settings. To do that, go to Davinci Resolve, keyboard customization, and you want to search for razor. As you can see, I assign it with the letter B here. Okay, and I changed the blade mode, the default one with the C letter. Okay, so then you can have instant cut with your keyboard. Okay, now to perform a fast cut like Vegas Pro, like in Vegas, you simply hold Alt and open bracket to fast cut the left portion, and Alt open bracket to fast cut the right portion. And the same thing here in Davinci, but it's slightly different. Instead of holding Alt, you hold Shift and then open bracket to fast cut the right portion, and Shift open bracket to fast cut the left portion. Okay, and next, to slip edit, here in Vegas, you literally hold Alt. If you hold Alt and hover your mouse on the event, you can shift the in and out point of the event. Okay, so you can see the in and out point. Here in Davinci, you have to activate the trim edit mode. Simply press T, or simply click this icon here on the toolbar. Okay, if you hover your mouse on the layer, okay, if you hover on the thumbnail, you can move the video. It's similar in Vegas, it will show you in and out point. Okay, so let me just zoom out a bit so you can have a better visual. Let me move this a bit in the center. Activate the trim edit mode. So if I move it around, you can see this white line is the guides of where that the in and out point will be. Okay, and then if I, instead of on the thumbnail, if I put it on the bottom here, you can see the icon change. If I put it right on this blue line here, it will move the position of the layer in the timeline. Okay, so here we'll move the layer, and on the thumbnail we'll move the in and out point position of the edit. Okay, to change back to the normal edit mode, just press A, or simply press this icon to move around and do your usual stuff. Okay, now luckily Davinci have the similar approach when it comes to normal transition like crossfade. You just literally hover your mouse at the edge here and add a crossfade. Okay, this is so much easier than just simply go to the effects tab and search for the transition effect and then drag and drop. You can just literally do that here at on the video itself, on the layer. Same goes for the audio. Okay, so it's similar as with Vegas Pro. All right, so now since we already touched about the effects tab literally sit beside the media pool here. Okay, if you click on the effects, it will load up the effects panel. It is the same thing as you go to the video effects tab and go through all of your video effects, but in Vegas it contains only video, while in Davinci it contains video effects as well audio effects. Okay, so it's the same method of applying effect. Just choose the effect that you want to use. So let's say I want to add a grid effect. Just simply drag and drop it into the video and it will apply the effects. Now you're probably wondering where is the parameters for me to customize the effects. It sits here in the inspector. Okay, on your right hand side inspector panel, you click here to reveal, and this is the video mode. This is the video tab, which tells you the basic transformation of the video. So if you click on effects, it will show you the effects that you just added onto this video. So if I add like glow, for example, it will show right below the grid here. Okay, so if I control the glow, it will just reflect back onto the preview, and I can control the grid or disable it to temporarily disable or enable the effects or get rid of it. Okay, it's the same concept as you will add effect here on the video. So if let's say if I add a chroma key here over here, you'll add a effects here. If I add like film effects, it will create a chain, and that is the same as in Davinci. It will show up here on the effects tab. I add a light ray. You can see the light ray properties right over here, just beside the effects, the audio tab here. Okay, so the inspector panel represents the whole parameters of that particular video. From the transformation, the transformations are similar as the pan and crop, which is over here. This is the pan and crop for you to adjust the video. It is the same thing right over here, but it uses a slider. So you're probably wondering, where is the gizmo for you to like control directly on the preview? It is right over here. If you click on it, it will activate. Okay, it sits on the middle, right below the preview window on the left hand side. You click on it to activate, and you can move it around, and it will just reflect it here on the transform on the inspector panel. So if I turn it around, it will show it right over here, same as the pan and crop. Okay, so if I reset it to default, it will reset the image. Same goes here in the Davinci. If I click the reset icon here, it will just reset the video, and I can just always enable it through this button here. Okay, it's similar to pan and crop, and you can also minimize it to collapse some of this unwanted stuff. Okay, so it's just that in the difference in Vegas, you have pan and crop and then the other effects that you have add. Well, here in Davinci, you have all of this by default, which is transform, cropping, video stabilizations and stuff, while in Vegas you have to add them as an effects. Okay, so whatever stuff you add here will show up here in effects. Same goes for the audio parameters. Okay, So now you can already see the similarities between these two programs. So it shouldn't be that hard for you to sort of bring the logics from Vegas Pro to Davinci Resolve. Alright, so now let's go a bit more advanced stuff here with Davinci Resolve. Alright, so since we are trying to replicate the same edit here from the Vegas Pro projects, and it starts off with this clip here, which is the same clip that we have currently in the timeline. Okay, so it lasts about 2 seconds long, and it's a slow-mo with part of her smiling. So I know it's somewhere here in the starting, so let me just drag it at the front end, move it somewhere around 2 seconds. Okay, right over here I'm gonna fast cut and change to trim edit mode, and let's find the in point of her starting to smile, and let's see the out point as well. She doesn't look away yet. I think it's somewhere here. Okay, because the one here in Vegas Pro, it was slow-mo. Okay, and if you click on the properties, it was shot in 50 frame. Okay, so to see the basic metadata of the video here, you just literally click on the metadata icon here, and then to just show you the basic stuff about that video. So this video here was shot at 50 frame, which is right over here. Let's collapse that. Press A to bring back to normal edit mode. Let's zoom it in. Now, since it was slow motion, I'm going to show you guys how to make slow motion with Davinci Resolve. So to make slow motion in Davinci Resolve is pretty simple. You just right click on the video and press change clip speed. Okay, this will load up the speed, the change clip speed panel, and you can change the value right over here. So let's put it up 50%. And you can maintain the timing, which is the cut here, or you can stretch it to fit, so it automatically stretch the video, but we just want to maintain the timing and press change. You can see now the video is slow motion. Okay, it's slow-mo now, which is great. There's a few ways to make slow motion. You can go to real-time curve, okay, but the real-time curve is much more complex. It'll load up another panel right below here, or you can go to real-time controls, which load up a panel like this, but I found it is so much easier to understand if you just right click, change clip duration, change clip speed. Okay, there's a few ways of doing that here in Davinci, but I found change clip speed matter is so much easier to understand because it directly change the value of the speed. Okay, you can fill in the value you want. Okay, so now we already have sort of a similar starting point of that video. So now I'm going to show you a bit more complex stuff, which is zooming in into this video. So you need to basically keyframes the transformation. So make sure you click the video, go to inspector, transform. Now to enable keyframe, you just click this diamond icon. So whatever diamond icon you see on this inspector panel means that properties can be keyframed. It is the same as you would see sort of let me add some effects here. Deform. Okay, here deform got this animate button, means this one can be animate. Let's find something different. Let's see, Gaussian blur. Okay, whatever that have this time watch icon means that properties can be animate. Okay, so it is the same as in Davinci. So if you see this icon, means that properties can be animate. Okay, now animation here in Davinci, especially keyframing, is honestly a bit more pain, because in Vegas it is so much easier to monitor the keyframe because it just literally sits directly below the parameters. You can see the keyframe timeline right below here, and you can zoom in and have a much more easier control, and you can rescale it, resize the panel and see it better. Okay, but in Davinci it's a bit different. You have to do all your work directly below that layer. So since we want to zoom in, I would like to animate everything, so just gonna press the very top diamond here. So that'll activate all of these properties, and you can see straight away on our layer you have these two icons appear. Okay, so if you click on this diamond icon, that will show you the keyframe timeline right below the layers. Okay, so our first keyframe is already added, so let's move it to the end here, And let's make sure you use this, you click this icon here to activate this gizmo, as let's zoom in and it will automatically add a keyframe right over there. Okay, so let's zoom it somewhere here. I think that is nice. So if I'll play our video, we already add our first keyframe. If you make any adjustment in between, it will automatically add a keyframe there. And you can just simply click on that keyframe and press delete to remove it. Okay, and you can close it back to collapse the keyframe timeline. So if we see it through our transformation here, you can see the position from the in point and the out point, I mean the second point. You can see the value changing here. Okay, that's how you keyframe the transformation here in Davinci Resolve. Right, so let's add a text onto our video. So to add a text, just simply go to Effects tab and under Titles, and we're gonna add here a text plus, drag and drop it into the timeline. Simple as that. I don't see any option to right click add a text. Here in Vegas you have the options. You can just right click on the empty space of the timeline and insert a text over here. But in Davinci you have to go through the Effects tab and drag and drop the text. Okay, so it's a slightly different approach. So to customize the text parameters, it's always on the inspector. Okay, you click on the inspector, make sure you highlight the text layer, and it will load up the text parameters. Okay, it is sort of similar here in Vegas. You click on the text generated media, it will load up the text. Okay, it's just that in the difference, if you're adding effects, or if you adding a text layer, or you are doing transformation, is always going to be via the inspector panel. So keep that in mind. Okay, so now we can already see the parameters for the text. So we're gonna type it out, travelog. Oops, small letter, let me make it capital. Okay, see on Vegas, is it the same? Yeah. So you can move the text position if you click on the layout and move it such way, but I prefer to move it via the setting itself, which is the transform tool, which the same tool that we just used to animate and reposition our video. Okay, so I will go back to the text, go to title. Okay, let's reset this part here, 0.5. Okay, so let's go back to the settings here and let's enable this icon here. So let's move the text right over there. Simple and faster. Okay, and then I want to make it a little bit more bigger, like so, and we want to animate the tracking of that text to enlarge. So let's go back to title, and that will be right under the tracking here. You can see the properties of the tracking, and it has this diamond icon, which indicate that tracking properties can be animated. So first of all, let me resize the text to be the same as the video length, and I want it to be enlarged at this part here. So let's go to the very first endpoint. Let's enable tracking here, keyframe, and move it till the end. Okay, and let's increase the trackings. Nice. So we have sort of a similar effects here with the Vegas Pro version. Okay, I know the text is slightly different, but for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just gonna make it simpler. So you're probably wondering, where can you see the keyframe properties that you have added here on the text? Well, this is the downside of Davinci, I think, in my opinion, because not everything you can actually see the keyframe that you have added here. Okay, now because of this tag was made by Infusions, so you can see the keyframe here on a Fusion pitch. So that is much more advanced stuff, so I want to keep it simple. So the best way is to actually eyeball based on your playhead positions, or you can literally click this button here to move the first keyframe, or click this button to move to the next keyframe across the timeline. Okay, so Davinci does not visually represent the keyframe on the timeline here. Most of the time, I think, if I were not mistaken, only the transform have this keyframe timeline. And usually if you add an effects like filters, for example, like lens blur. Okay, let's add a lens blur on this video, and let's say if I animate the blur size. Okay, for example, at the very beginning I make it 0. Okay, and then I move to the very end here. Let's make it very blur, and then move a bit more, make it not really blur. Now to see that keyframe on this particular video, it will not show up on the keyframe timeline. Instead, you click this icon here. You have to locate through the graph editor. So you click this drop down menu and you can see the lens blur effects. So since we animate the blur size, so you enable blur size here, and you can see the keyframe that we add. Okay, so the first keyframe is 0, and if you click here, it will go to the next keyframe. We make it all the way 100%, and to the next keyframe we make it all the way to 0. Okay, so that's how you see your keyframe, which I found it a bit inconvenient, but this is just how Davinci works. So let's delete the lens blur effects because we're not going to use it, and we have the basic look of our edit like we did here in Vegas. Next we have this sort of overlays. So let's go to our media pools and add the film burn on top. Okay, now let's make it short. Okay, fast cut, add a bit of transition here, crossfade, sorry, make it like so, and let's overlay it. So you click on that particular layer and then it will automatically update the inspector panel. Let's close it. So whenever I click the layer, it will always update the inspector. Okay, so now we already click on the the film burn, and you want to go through composite, which is the blending mode. So let's press screen. Let's scroll down, screen, and that's it. It's the same as you would do here in Davinci, but in Vegas. But in Vegas you do it on track level, but here in Davinci you do it on the layer level, which is on the media itself. Okay, so now let's add our next clip, which is this one if I'm not mistaken. Okay, let's drag it, drop over here, and let's find the in and out point. Let's collapse that. Let's zoom out a bit. You can click on the empty space and press delete to ripple edit, which is nice, and it is slow motion as well. So I'm gonna right click on it, change clip speed. This one, if I'm not mistaken, is 100 frames, so let's make it 25%. Nice, it is somewhere here. Now to make a transitions between this cut, you can't like just simply merge them. It won't do such thing here in Davinci. Unlike Vegas, you can just merge them together. Okay, so to do that, you just simply highlight between these two edit point. Okay, make sure it's in the middle, both are highlighted green. You right click, add a cross dissolve. So let's make it 12 frames. So we'll transition between these two clips. You can extend it a bit more, so you can have this sort of transitions. Now we make a speed ramp on this clip here, so we have to change our method of slowing down this video. So let's trim the end here. Okay, so extend a bit more. We're gonna speed ramp right over here. So right click on it, and we're gonna use real-time control. Okay, now the real-time control are pretty similar to the velocity here in Vegas. So you just need to add a point, add a speed point like that. So add a point based on your playhead position. Okay, so then you want to change the value here. So let's change the speed value to around, let's say 200. So you'll make that clip shorter because it's moving fast. So let's extend it a bit more. Alright, so now it just suddenly speed up, which it doesn't look nice. We want it gradually to speed ramp. So then you want to close the speed change here. You're gonna right click again and go to real-time curve. Okay, now that will load up the graph editor. So you want to change the real-time frames to real-time speed. Uncheck that and real-time speed. Okay, so you can see it just suddenly speed up from that point there. So what you're gonna do, you want to click this part here, this sudden jump cut here, and you want to click this button here, which to make a really smooth graph there, so that if you play, it will gradually make a speed ramp. Okay, so it's not that great, but you need to take your time to make it perfect. Okay, so I'm gonna make it somewhere here, and you can also change the speed right over here, just like so. All right, I think that's look great. And then finally, let's add our last video clip. Let's open up media pool, which is this clip here. Let's drag and drop it into the timeline. I think it's right over here. Okay, let's fast cut and fast cut the other end. Simple as that. Okay, right, so now we're gonna add the blur effects between these two clips. Okay, so in Vegas, I add the blur effects directly on the video track and animate it between these two cuts. Okay, but you can't literally add the effects onto the timeline, because Davinci can't do the same function like in Vegas. So the other way around is to literally use adjustment layer. So just go to your effects tab. Okay, let's close the inspector panel. Under the effects, you see the adjustment clip. So just drag and drop it into your timeline. So whatever stuff you add on the adjustment clip will affect anything below it. So let's trim it short, make it short. Okay, and let's add the blur effects. So let's go to filters. Here in Davinci, it's called directional blur. So let's add it to the adjustment clip. Okay, so here in Vegas, it is sort of a straight linear, so we'll apply the same settings there. So go to inspector panel. Since we're adjusting the effects, go to effects and make the blur angle to 0. Okay, so we make the blur strength pretty high here in between the cuts, so we are literally at the between the cuts. Make it a bit more, and let's click the diamond icon to activate the keyframes. So let's move it to the very end here, the first in point. Let's make it 0, so it gradually increase the blur strength. Then when it moves to the next clip, let's make it to 0 back, so that we have the same effect like we do that same effect that we do in Vegas. Okay, so now we almost done. Okay, we already have the basic cuts. So now let's add the music. Okay, just simply go to the media pool again. Let's drag this up and add the music right below our timeline here. Okay, I don't really remember which part, so let's just assume this one here. Let's add a music, and let's fast cut the end, and let's fade out the music right over here. Okay, to remove the audio from the video, you can just unlink it by click this icon. So when you click, it only selects the audio. So when you make a selection and press backspace, it will delete that audio. Okay, simple. And let's bring the audio up. Okay, so make sure you press backspace, okay, because if you press delete, it will delete the entire thing. So backspace in Davinci do mean delete stuff. Okay, so you have two functions, backspace and delete. Backspace will literally just delete that portion without affecting other stuff in the timeline, while delete will perform ripple edit. Ripple edit, yeah, correct. So backspace just to remove that part without disturbing other stuff. And let's move the audio track, the music above. All right, so now we have sort of similar edits here in Davinci comparing to Vegas. Now it's time to color grade. To color, just simply go to the color page tab, and you can start color grading the video. Okay, and I will just make it simple. I'm pretty sure most of you guys before watch my tutorial have watched some others Davinci color grading tutorials, so I'm just gonna make it very, very simple. So I'm gonna make a simple as curve just on this one node here. Okay, I'm gonna add a bit of saturation here, fix the white balance. Okay, and then maybe make a bit of purple. Maybe in the video it was purple a bit. Okay, yeah, so I just gonna do roughly. Okay, all right, so we managed to recreate the same edit here in Davinci Resolve. So it's sort of close enough, the one that we make here in Vegas Pro. Okay, and I know some of the things that you're trying to do here in Davinci take a bit more time, for example the keyframe, but certain things are so much easier to execute in Davinci, especially when performing a slip edit, which I found it far more intuitive when comparing it to Vegas. Okay, so there is a pros and cons between this program. Okay, it just boils down to how which one you think work the best for your work. Okay, so now to export the video, just simply go to the delivery page, the one that have the rocket icon. You can give this file a name and save it somewhere on your computer. Okay, you can go through what format you want to use, which I'm not going to talk about much, and then you can add to render queue. Okay, I already have the previous exported stuff clip here. Okay, you can replace it if you wish to and press render, and it will render out the video on the location that you have set it. Okay, so congratulations, you just exported your first edit with Davinci Resolve. Alright, so we already at the end of the video. I hope you guys learned something, and if you have any questions related, you can leave it down in the comment section and I will try my best to help you guys. So till next time, bye bye.